Well, it was a no-brainer. I mean, it was the legal no-brainer. The state of Tennessee prevails in court, granted the injunction against the NCAA. But what does all this really mean? We'll tell you all that and more here on a Monday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Monday morning, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Vols. I am Eric Kane. Happy to have you guys along for the ride here today. We got a busy show coming up. We're going to talk about the state's win, the state of Tennessee and Virginia against the NCAA and getting the injunction against the NCAA. And so essentially NIL rules are paused for right now. We'll get into that here in a matter of moments. Tennessee basketball absolutely dominated Texas A&M, and Rick Barnes picked up career win number 800 behind a near triple-double from Tennessee's point guard, Zakai Zeigler. That coming up in segment 2. And would the NCAA consider moving early National Signing Day? It would be the best for everybody. That's coming up in segment number 3. This show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel, where you can make every moment more at FanDuelSportsbook.com. So I wanted to, first of all, thank you and let you know that you can listen and subscribe and all that for free. Download us for free anywhere you get your podcast. First listen, as always. Can't thank you enough for that. Every dayers making the show what it is. Twitter Tuesday is going to come up tomorrow. I know we did a mailbag segment late last week, but kind of getting back on our normal Tuesday kick. So any questions, comments, concerns you guys may have over Tennessee football, the NCAA investigation, the legal battle, Tennessee basketball, Tennessee baseball, recruiting, all that, you can submit those in there for the mailbag edition of the show. That is coming up tomorrow. All right, so it was your typical Friday afternoon news dump. It was about, we'll call it 4 o'clock Friday afternoon Eastern time, and the ruling came down from Tennessee federal judge Clifton Corker, and that he granted an injunction to the state of Tennessee and Virginia in the Attorney General's case against the NCAA. If you remember, not this past Tuesday, but the Tuesday before that, Tennessee and the state of Virginia went to court, essentially, pleading that it was a violation of antitrust and arguing that NIL rules can't exist in this current landscape that, yes, the NCAA has created, and also that the states and other states around the country are passing laws to protect student athletes. So the ruling was coming down. So what's that really mean, that Tennessee was granted the injunction? Well, the ruling means that current name, image, and likeness rules are halted. What it also means is that the NCAA's inquiry into the University of Tennessee and its athletics department concerning the NIL practices is over at this point. The NCAA can either end the investigation or they can suspend it until the full trial will take place. Now, will the full trial take place? We'll see. Will the NCAA just kind of cut its losses and say, well, we're not going to win in the full trial because we didn't win the injunction case here, and so let's cut our losses and move on? Or will the NCAA go in, full blown and just steer into this thing and take it all the way to a full trial? We will have to see. But in something that was going to go, in my opinion, 50-50, and for those who are much smarter than me said that, hey, it's probably 50-50 that Tennessee, the state, wins this injunction or not. In the grand scheme of these things, if it goes to a full trial, the NCAA is not going to stand a chance because it's violation of antitrust rules. And so, this is obviously a win for Tennessee. It continues to be a blow to the NCAA. It continues to, take credit away, to disincentivize the NCAA, take credit away from the NCAA, and credibility, I should say. And it kind of makes what everybody in working sports media kind of agrees with, and working administrations and sports management all across the college landscape, that you cannot forbid prospective student athletes from having these ongoing conversations about what their value's worth. You can't halt that, but say they can still talk to collectives when they're on visits. I mean, what are they going to talk about? Again, this is essentially, if you dumb it down to the very lowest of the low to where I can understand it, it would be saying, okay, I work for On3. What if ESPN called me and said, hey, Eric, we want you to come work for us? I said, awesome. Yeah, 3-year deal. We'll get you this. We'll get you this. all this type of stuff. This is what you'll do. Awesome. Sounds great. What about salary? Oh yeah, we can't let you know about that until you already accept the job and you come up here in Bristol, Connecticut and arrive on our campus. What? Yeah, but here's your job. This is where you'll stay. Here's your perks. Here's your job description. This is what you'll be doing. But we can't tell you how much money you're going to make until you get here. That is essentially what the NCAA believes should be the case regarding prospective student athletes and name, image, and likeness. It's unlawful. It's not fair, and it's impossible. You can't make sense of that, right? So just kind of is what it is. In the ruling, this is taken from the ruling here. This is going to be a lot of legal terminology, so let's just kind of work here through it. Quote, for the reasons provided herein, plaintiff's motion for preliminary injunction is granted. It is hereby ordered that effective immediately, defendant, NCAA, its servants, agents, and employees, and all persons in active concert or participation with the NCAA are restrained and enjoined from enforcing the NCAA interim NIL policy, the NCAA bylaws, or any other authority to the extent such as authority prohibits student athletes from negotiating compensation for NIL with any third-party entity, including but not limited to boosters or collective of boosters, until a full and final decision on the merits in the instant action. So if you get around all that here and there, plaintiffs, defendants, all that legal terminology, it's just basically saying, yo, NCAA, you can't enforce NIL rules right now until this thing has an end resolution, and once this thing goes to full trial. So right now, you can't enforce nothing. The NCAA literally can't enforce anything right now. The decision goes on to say, it is further ordered that effective immediately, the NCAA is restrained from and enjoining from enforcing the rule of restitution as applied to the foregoing NIL activities until full and final decision on the merits in the instant action. So, again, NCAA can't do anything in terms of NIL right now. You can't say that you can't have those conversations because, you know, it's pretty much impossible. The NCAA fired back with a statement and said, turning upside down rules overwhelmingly supported by member schools will aggravate an already chaotic collegiate environment, further diminishing protections for student athletes from exploitation. The NCAA fully supports student athletes making money from their name, image, and likeness, okay, and is making changes to deliver more benefits to student athletes. All right. But an endless patchwork of state laws and court opinions make clear partnering with Congress necessary to provide stability for the future for all of college athletes. The NCAA once again knocking on Congress's door. Congress has already told them to go away several times. But once again, NCAA, Congress, come bail us out. Congress, come bail us out. We had 30 years to figure this out, and we didn't want to do it. We truly didn't have the best thoughts and our best aspirations for prospective student athletes at the collegiate level. We really didn't care. We didn't care. We think it's unfair. We didn't think it's legal. Well, it is legal. And so once again, the NCAA is knocking on the door of Congress, and Congress has already told them to be like, hey, go away. You know, there's nothing we can do. There's literally nothing we can do. Okay, so we'll continue to see what the next step is, but for right now, the NCAA investigation into Tennessee, it's paused. What are you investigating when it's deemed legal? Literally legal by the court of Tennessee. So that's paused. NCAA governing NIL policies, that's paused right now because they don't have a real handbook. We'll see exactly what the next step is if this thing goes to full trial and all that, but here's something to keep in mind as well. This is from Tom Mars, who's the lawyer representing Spire Sports Group. In cases in which court granted the plaintiff's motion for preliminary injunction relief, the plaintiff prevailed in 84% of the corresponding final judgments, and only 16% of the defendants that were preliminary enjoined managed to escape an adverse final judgment. Meaning, when this thing goes to final court, the state of Tennessee, essentially, you know, the people wanting NIL clearance and you know, allowing these people to have, or these prospective student athletes to have these ongoing conversations, essentially meaning the NCAA only has a 16%, as recent history shows, the NCAA, the defendant, only has a 16% chance of winning this final thing. So it's not impossible, but the cards are certainly stacked against the NCAA. And in the meantime, this is my closing remarks here. I'm in the courtroom. In the meantime, over the weekend, when all this is going on, and you've got the battle in court system in Tennessee, you just lost the multi-transfer thing in West Virginia. I mean, all this stuff happening right now. The NCAA issued over the weekend that says schools can no longer decorate prospects' hotel rooms on official visits, and all cookie cakes and snacks must be handed to recruits in the lobby. This is basically the cream cheese rule from a long time ago. I understand that the hardworking people in sports and recruiting around all these Power 5 and Group of 5, schools around the country are saying, heck yeah, hallelujah. We saved us hours and hours and hours of decorating. I mean, it seems so simple. But decorating a prospect who's on an official visit to his hotel room, providing snacks in there, it's a lot of work. And so for those people, I'm happy that they don't have to do that anymore, because I'm sure that I'm sure really a lot of member institutions wanted that rule to be passed, but the optics doesn't look good. During all this legal battle on things that are actually important, the NCAA comes in with a firm fist this weekend and says, hey, no more decorating hotel rooms, no more cookies outside the lobby. The NCAA continues to be the biggest joke in sports entity. It is hilarious how it just continues to punch itself in the face and punch itself in the face repeatedly. So anyway, big news Friday afternoon news dump. Tennessee, the state of Tennessee and the Commonwealth of Virginia wins the injunction against the NCAA. We'll see exactly what is next, but good news for the University of Tennessee. Hey, when we come back, Tennessee basketball absolutely drilled Texas A&M. We'll tell you all about Rick Barnes' 800th career win when we return here on Locked On Vols. Get buckets with your first bet over on FanDuel. It is America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That is $150 if your bet wins. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and NBA teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and so much more. The NBA season, the second half of the season is underway. You've got college basketball. What a fun weekend of college basketball it was on Saturday and all throughout Saturday. We've got the final stretch, the last 2 weeks of the regular season before we get into the conference tournaments, and then March Madness. You can put some coin in your pocket, have a rooting interest in the game, all that and more on the safe, secure, easy-to-use app over at FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot today with FanDuel. FanDuel, it's the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. More on Locked On Vols coming up next. All right, it's a Monday morning. Glad you guys are here. Appreciate you guys for making this your first listen each and every day. Don't forget, your mailbag edition of the show can come up tomorrow. So any questions, comments, concerns, anything you guys have, let me hear them at _Caner and at Locked On Vols. All right, let's talk a little hoops. I was talking to one of my buddies late Saturday night, and he was like, if Zakai Zeigler's not in the A block on Monday, you're doing it wrong. Well, I hear you, because what a freaking game that was, and what a win it was for Tennessee, what a game it was for Zakai Zeigler, and what accomplishment it was for Rick Barnes. But, as we do here on Locked On Vols, basketball can't be in the A, because there's this thing called, I like people listening to my show, and so if I lead off with basketball, it turns a lot of football people away. But we're going to talk about it, because clearly it is a big deal, and we love some hoops here on Locked On Vols. 86-51. First and foremost, what a basketball game. Tennessee got its arse whipped down in College Station a couple weeks ago. The student section was chanting overrated, one of the most overrated chants in all of college athletics, one of the most commonly used chants in upset wins across college athletics. But Tennessee remembered that, and Tennessee certainly did not play its best on the road. Tennessee certainly did not play its best that night in College Station, came back at home. It was checkered TBA Food City Center, and Tennessee just whipped Texas A&M. In fact, it was tied at 24 points, 24-24 at the first half media time at the media timeout at the 4:36 mark of the first half. It was tied 24-24. So just over 15 minutes into the ball game, you were tied at 24 all. From then on, the final 4:36 of the first half and then all 20 minutes of the second half, Tennessee outscored Texas A&M by a score of 62-27. 62 to 27. Tennessee doubled up the Aggies from there on out. How about that? Final score 86-51, where Tennessee shot over 50% from the field. Tennessee shots from three-point range, 35%, made 7 3-pointers. Tennessee, maybe Rick Barnes' favorite statistic of the night. Tennessee just bullied Texas A&M on the boards, 50-33. And the best offensive rebounding team in the nation, that is Texas A&M. Tennessee held the Aggies to just 10 offensive boards in this contest. Tennessee whipped them. Tennessee absolutely whipped them, and it was the quietest 24-point effort from Dalton Knecht, who just continues to pour it on and pour it on and pour it on. Sooner or later, he's as the season goes on, he's going to have a chance to potentially be up there in the top 3, top 4 of the single season scoring in program history. I saw a list late Saturday night. I should have saved it, but he's got 400, and I want to say I don't even know. He's got 400 and something right now, but he's like 15 away from going up one more spot. He's like 9th right now. He's like 15th away from going up one more spot, and then like 20 away from going up another. I mean, he's going to pass a lot here in the next couple of games, and man, he just continues to be the guy for Tennessee. 24 points and 7 rebounds. What an effort there from Dalton Knecht on 50% shooting from the field. He also made 4 3-pointers. But the story is Zakai Zeigler. Man, Zakai Zeigler, on a night where he didn't shoot very well from the field, just 3 of 10 overall, he finished with 9 points, 9 rebounds, 14 assists, and no turnovers, playing 35 minutes. Dude was on fire. He was a point away. He was a rebound away from a triple-double, but even more impressive than the 14 assists, no turnovers. No turnovers for Zakai Zeigler. He is one of the most underrated basketball players in the country. Tennessee fans are like, what are you talking about underrated? We know about him. We love him. Yeah, everybody here loves him. People know about him. Nobody talks about him. And I don't know why. I mean, he's, as KSR, once said a couple weeks ago, whenever Tennessee walloped Kentucky at Rupp Arena, the irrelevant players, and talking about Zakai Zeigler as being an irrelevant player, it's just not true. I mean, Zakai Zeigler is very relevant, not only for Tennessee basketball, but in the Southeastern Conference and really in college basketball. He was a point and a rebound away from a triple-double. Really, really good stuff. 24 points from Dalton Knecht, a near triple-double from Zakai Zeigler, 12 points from Toby Awaka, who just looks more aggressive out there, does he not? Just continues to play and look more aggressive, and he's shooting more. He was 5 of 6 from the field. I mean, he's shooting. He's being aggressive on the offensive end, had 6 rebounds, played 17 minutes. But, oh, yeah, there's Jonas Aidoo. And I think Jonas Aidoo is probably the X factor for this Volunteer basketball team. Now, are you going to get 18 points and 14 rebounds every game? No, you're not. But, my goodness, he has just turned it on this year. 18 and 14. That is a heck of a basketball game. So, in Santiago Vescovi, where he has certainly taken a step back in shooting and production this year, not even shooting much, only 5 shot attempts on the night, he continues to play good defense, and he's hustling. And man, his defense is so improved when he came over, in Christmas a couple years ago, and you're just thrown in the starting lineup, and he couldn't defend anything. Man, his defense has improved so much. He's a great effort player, had 5 rebounds as well. What a win for Tennessee. But what does this mean for Tennessee? Well, it means that Rick Barnes picked up career win number 800. And it was really, really cool to see the video tribute that Tennessee Athletics put together. They got video from Roy Williams, Tom Izzo, Bill Self, John Calipari, all friends in the industry, in the coaching world for Rick Barnes. Also, former assistants such as Rob Lanier, Kim English, Kelvin Sampson was in there as well, and a couple of other ones as well. All just sitting there saying, wishing their congratulations and talking about how great a coach he is, but more than that, how great of a person Rick Barnes is for developing these young men. I thought that was really, really, really cool to see and kind of watch all that go down. So really cool to see for Tennessee. Really cool to see for Rick Barnes. Couldn't happen to a better guy. Tennessee is now 22-5, I believe. I don't know. I mean, they're still sitting there. I'll see what Joe Lunardi does here after the weekend is completely over. But I mean, Tennessee's knocking on the door of a 1 seed. That is for sure. But as we have talked about the last couple of weeks, this is when it gets real. So your little 3 weeks spurt of games that you needed to pick up wins over, LSU, you got that win. A&M, you lost at College Station. Arkansas, you won. Vanderbilt, you won. Missouri, you won. A&M, you won. And, all these except for Missouri were all, in the lost A&M, were all in convincing fashion. Tennessee just whooped up on these teams as they should. But Tennessee exits the 6-game little lull in the schedule with a 5-1 record. I would say the job well done. You would have certainly liked to win that game at Texas A&M, but you didn't. It's basketball. It is what it is. Now you go into the final 2-week stretch of the regular season, and it's a doozy. Auburn at Thompson Bowling Arena at the Food City Center. Wednesday. Huge game as Bruce Pearl comes back. You're in Tuscaloosa, where Tennessee exits the weekend tied for the SEC lead in Tuscaloosa next Saturday at 8 o'clock. Huge game for the University of Tennessee. And then, of course, you've got South Carolina next weekend on Wednesday, next week on Wednesday, and then you've got Kentucky on Saturday the 9th to conclude the regular season before the conference tournament. So, huge 2-week swing coming out to finish the regular season, but Tennessee is rolling right now. Bully basketball on the boards, out-rebounding 50-33 A&M, holding the best offensive rebounding team in the country to only 10 offensive boards in that 86-51 beatdown the other night at the Food City Center. So good to see Tennessee basketball rolling. Good to see Zakai Zeigler playing the way he is. Jonas Aidoo, Toby Awaka, and Dalton Knecht, who we're literally not even talking about right now. Okay, when we come back, would the early signing day move in the near future? Greg Sankey, SEC commissioner, is certainly lobbying for that. We're going to discuss that and more when we come back right here on Locked On Vols. Final segment here on a Monday edition of Locked On Vols. I'm Eric Kane. Appreciate you guys for joining us and being a part of the show here today. I want to ask you something. I know a lot of people aren't recruiting guys like I am. I'm a recruiting guy. I mean, that's fair. It's part of my job, and I used to be even more heavily involved in recruiting. But I have learned to grow and learned to love recruiting. It's the lifeline of any fan site, such as VolQuest.com. Anything, it's the lifeline for On3 Sports. It's the lifeline for 247 for Rivals. Certainly not the lifeline for ESPN, because they don't divert time or resources to recruiting like they used to. But nonetheless, there's an issue, and a lot of people that don't like the early National Signing Day, because for years and years and years, it was a national holiday. The first Wednesday in February, it was National Signing Day. Got a buddy of mine, shout out Nathan Trower. I've mentioned this on the show before. He used to fake sick and stay home and watch National Signing Day coverage on ESPN all the time when we were children. But it's just not what it is anymore, because 90% of the hay's in the barn by the time you get done with the early national signing period. There are a couple of blue chippers that will wait and will make their decisions and have the kind of the stage to themselves in February, but for the most part, that little 3-day window, and really the first day is when it's all done, is what you got. And so, but it's problematic, because in December, you have conference championship games. You have the transfer portal window opening. You have finals for your school, for your players that they're taking. You got bowl practices. Right now, you've got COVID seniors deciding if they want to come back or not. And, starting this year, you're going to have the start of the 12-team college football playoffs. So something's got to give to alleviate some pressure of these head coaches. That's why you're seeing so many coaches stepping down and taking, jobs at coordinator positions. Chip Kelly's going to be the Ohio State offensive coordinator, where he was the head coach at UCLA. You've got the head coach of Boston College going to coordinate for the Green Bay Packers. You got Sean Elliott, who was the head coach at Georgia State, going to coach tight ends at South Carolina, where he used to coach the offensive line. You've got more and more coaches wanting to get out of the game, because there's just so much pressure, and especially the month of December, so challenging. So the good thing that we have on our side is that the COVID players got to do this one more time, and then that's over. Like, that little wave is gone. We've gone 4 years past it, and thankfully, because goodness gracious, it has certainly added more and more stress to. I mean, it's been a blessing. Tennessee's certainly benefited. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Tennessee's benefited from having some of these veterans come back and use a COVID year of eligibility. But it adds more and more stress on just trying to predict what your roster is going to be and roster management. Also, divvying up some scholarships because you only have 85 scholarships, and in Tennessee's case, really like 82 or 83 the next couple of years. So we only have one more kind of round of that, which is good. But if you move the early signing period, is that really going to help anything? I don't know. Let's discuss. Greg Sankey wants to do that. He told Yahoo Sports, quote, "Putting signing day in the middle of December with playoff games no longer works. Move it to early December, the Wednesday before conference championship games." For 14 teams in your conference, I'm just taking the SEC as an example, that's fine. But for the 2 teams playing in your conference championship, man, what a distraction. What a distraction the week of your conference championship when you got a college football playoff spot on the line as well, that you got to deal with National Signing Day that week as well, while also trying to, decompartmentalize, another portion of your brain to go out there and coach your guys later in the afternoon. That's really, really tough. But for, again, the 14 other teams in the SEC, that would make sense because they're not playing for a conference championship that Saturday. I found that interesting. Of course, it's the same with the ACC and the Big Ten and the Big 12 as well. This is from over at CBS Sports and talking about Greg Sankey and how he wants to move early National Signing Day. December tends to be crunch time for college coaches. The transfer portal this past year, the transfer portal window opened on December the 4th. Early signing period commenced just over 2 weeks later on December the 20th. So at the same time coaches are trying to keep the roster together and evaluate potential areas of need throughout the portal, they're also closing up on high school recruiting ranks and tying up any loose ends on the trail. I like the way Tennessee's done the early National Signing Day because by 10 a.m. they are done, finished, finito, day one, all the hay's in the barn, boom. There had been a couple of recruiting wins that they got, over the course of the last 3 weeks, 3 years, but that's all been on day one of early National Signing Day as well. So really, Tennessee's not even utilized that Thursday and Friday. I would be for moving signing day to the beginning of December. Truthfully, I would get it out of the way. That way you can truly focus on transfer portal. You can truly focus on, filling out your staff because, it kind of stinks for the prospect. But if you move early National Signing Day to the first week of December, then they're signed, they're locked in. Then a lot of the coaching carousel moves can be made. A lot of times head coaches will already be fired by that point, but, coordinators or assistant coaches and all that. Also in 2024, again, as I mentioned, the first year, the expanded 12-team playoff. First-round games will be played on the weekend of December the 20th, which is the date that early National Signing Day was this past year, which falls right in the window of early National Signing Day format. All of that accumulates at creating a grind that is starting to wear on coaches. This is from Louisiana Tech coach Sonny Crumby, who recently told CBS Sports' Dennis Dodd, "The hardest thing is there's no time off. Christmas Eve from noon until Christmas Day, you're evaluating portal kids, talking to portal kids, visiting with portal kids. It just doesn't ever stop. There's no time to turn it off. I told our personal director, don't send me any more texts about players in the portal and leave everyone alone. That was the only time you have off." Man, it's difficult for sure. I've talked about the month of December and how it's just a trying time for college coaches. Would this make things any better? I think it certainly would help as well. But also, you got to help yourself out too, because in that January when the recruiting period opens up as well, guys who are already signed, who might not be on campus yet, you got Tennessee assistant coaches going to watch them play basketball. Why? Why on earth are you wasting resources? Why on earth are you wasting time going and speaking to prospects who are already signed to come to your university when you could be going elsewhere and talking with prospective student athletes that might sign in February? Again, there's not going to be any great formula. There's not going to be any best way there is, but I do think if you move the signing day up from December 20th area to about December 2nd or 3rd area, I think that would alleviate a lot of pressure. It would just be unfortunate still for those two teams who have earned the right to play in the conference championship game because there's going to be a huge distraction. The first part of that week, Monday, Tuesday, leading up to that Wednesday, boy, it is. There's some flips there, right? But to have the entire month of December off for recruiting for traditional recruiting, I think would be massive, although that portal window will still be open. So we'll see what happens. Greg Sankey is an advocate for moving early National Signing Day. I've often said you should move it away from December, have it on August the 1st, and then if a head coach gets fired, you can allow that player out of their national letter of intent. But have one on August the 1st and have one on February the 4th. Makes sense to me, right? That way you can get all the hay in the barn before their high school senior season even starts. Would make sense. And those late risers, such as David Hobbs, those late risers, such as Arian Carter, those late risers, such as Khalifa Keith, Tyree Weathersby, James Pierce, who Tennessee has signed in recent memory. You can maybe get those on February the 1st. So anyway, that would be what I would do. I would encourage you to pay attention to this calendar and everything that's going on in college athletics right now. The calendar, college football, there's a lot going on. But if National Signing Day, the early National Signing Day moves up to the 1st of December, I think that is better than where it currently is now. But I would still advocate for it to be on August the 1st. All right. Fun show here on a Monday morning. Appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen. Tell your friends about it. Tell your family. Tell that volunteer fan in your life if they haven't heard of Locked On Vols. I'll tell you the news of the day, and then I give you my opinion on some things, and we get into some great conversation. It's a passion project for me. I love it. It's a job, but truly it's not a job because I have just so much fun doing it and hanging out with you guys each and every day. Tell your friends you can watch, listen, subscribe, download, all that for free on YouTube and, of course, wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll be back tomorrow. Any questions, comments, concerns for the mailbag portion of the show, that happens on a Tuesday, Locked On Vols. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody.